Tonight on Salamone, we're talking current events and the politics of food with the great Jay Burbank and Chef Andy Palermo. I'm Michael Salamone. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, let's get on with the show.
Thank you for tuning in. We've got another great panel for you this week. Joining me tonight are two of the funniest food service industry professionals I've ever known. A man we nicknamed comedian Jay Burbank when we worked together at a restaurant as young college kids, and a fantastic chef and old friend who's got a name that I just love to say, Andy Palermo. Welcome, gentlemen. Of course, I'm Michael Salamone. So let's get started with our speed round, heckling the headlines of the day. Our first topic is that the Pope said this weekend that it's time to rethink celibacy for priests. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to give me your best pickup line from a priest. And, Andy, if you've got one, I'll ask you to go first.
Yeah, you ever date a man in a cloth that didn't require chloroform?
I like that.
Jay, what do you got in your pocket?
I was thinking the Vatican now says I can't force myself on little boys anymore. So, what are you doing tonight?
I was thinking along the lines of, those rosary beads are for prayer, and I'm praying that you let me use them on you to do butt stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of Hail Marys right there.
Moving on. Moving on. A professor in the United Kingdom went public Monday complaining about how some kids are graduating from college without ever reading a book due to using Wikipedia for everything. And I got a great laugh out of that just because there's so much fake information on Wikipedia. So I thought it'd be fun if we could try and make up real-sounding but really fake facts a student might lift from Wikipedia to use on a paper. So we're looking for a fake fact, which is kind of an oxymoron. But Jay, do you have any?
You know, everything I know is on Facebook, and so I've never really used Wikipedia. And so what I did was I wikied my own name, Burbank, my last name, and it is an English name, and it means lives on the castle's hill. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I live up in the mountains, you know, I'm at 8,000 foot. Wow, that's pretty cool. But then I looked at it further, and it said lives on the castle's hill. And I don't live in the castle, apparently. I'm one of the servants on the outside. And so I just thought that was funny in itself.
Well, it sounds like a real fact, but I'm glad you learned something today, Jay.
Yeah, I did. But it sounded totally fake as well.
Andy, do you have a Wikipedia fact for us?
Yeah, the Macy's Day Parade has the highest rate of unused porta potties out of any fall parade in the country.
That's a real fact.
That's per hour. That's per hour, per capita as well. So
a lot of math involved in getting that statistic on that. I was kind of hoping that somehow, somewhere, someone is using they're citing the Louis C.K. rant on Twitter last week where he went off about all of life coming from Mars. I hope that they're citing that as fact on a biology paper.
yeah.
Those statements go, it's the freakiest show kind of stuff. But yeah, next up. An Iowa police officer violated the rights of a car full of guys this weekend because they told him they were on their way to go play Frisbee golf. And the cop believed that nobody plays Frisbee golf without being high on weed. Though he didn't find any weed after tearing their car and possessions apart. So I thought, let's think of another activity you should never tell the cops you're on your way to participate in. because they'll think you're on drugs. So, Andy, what should we never tell the cops we're on our way to do?
Going to the Blue Heron Music Festival.
It's a very local joke. I like it.
Yeah, that may be a West New York joke, but it stands true. And you don't mention that. You don't make eye contact either.
I'm going to explain that one because a lot of our listeners are on the West Coast. This is a small music festival in Western New York, which I went to a couple of times, mostly the kind of music I don't enjoy, so I didn't get into it, but it's very much a drug scene. It's like a Dead show or a show.
Happy scene, too.
Burbs,
First off, I'd like to say that cop was right, and he just didn't find it. No one in the history of Frisbee golf has ever played without some weed.
I agree with you.
And then, the obvious one is, hey man, I'm just going to Burning Man, but I also feel like the Taco Bell drive-thru. If you have wrappers from the Taco Bell drive-thru, there's no way you went there sober. You had to be on something.
That's probably cause on its own. I guess I would go with the obvious of officer. I'm just on my way to hang out with Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson. You should probably never tell a cop something like that, unless you're just trying to screw with them.
Guilty.
Anyhow, Guilty. Now a word from our fake sponsor.
Tonight's episode of the Salamone podcast is brought to you by whatever the hell is in your cupboard. Because when you need to eat your emotions, you're going to reach out to whatever the hell is in your cupboard. Eat your emotions today.
I thought that could be a segue into our conversation about food, since we're here to talk about food politics. I thought it'd be fun to start with each of us telling a funny food service story, which we could likely do a 4-hour show on just those, but let's stick to one good one per man. Chef Palermo, why don't you go first?
Oh, man, there are so many, but one that really sticks out in my mind is when I was working in the Mile High city of Denver. I was working at the Hyatt out there, and the sous chef and I were working together, and oddly enough, he was on the line with me, and we were making 250 burgers. And he thought it'd be a great idea to just knock them out pretty much all at once. And I was kind of hesitant about it, but, he was pretty persistent on it. So we have a big flat top, and for those of you who don't know what a flat top is, like a big griddle. And this one was probably 7 feet long and about 4 feet deep. So we were throwing all of our burgers on there. Well, halfway through, the kitchen looked pretty smoky, and I said, no, maybe we should back off a little bit. But he's like, no, we're all right, we'll go on. So needless to say, we set off the smoke alarm, the fire alarm, and we had to evacuate all 275 guests that were in our hotel just because we were making burgers.
Success.
Yeah, it was pretty great walking outside next to everybody going, gee, what's going on here? I don't what's going on? I don't know what's going on. For some reason we were the only ones in the kitchen too. So we were the only ones that knew what was going on. So yeah, we evacuated the whole hotel.
Jay Burbank, please tell me yours involves Bill Cosby.
Oh yes. So working in the Chautauqua Institution at the Athenaeum Hotel, they would put up whoever was performing at the amphitheater right next door. And Bill Cosby showed up off his flight a little late, and apparently he had taken himself a nap. And so I'm sitting there as the kind of accidental sous chef, I would say, because everyone else were culinary students, and it was the executive chef, Ricky Heald, and I. And Ricky was out doing his thing, and I was sitting at the desk reading Fatherhood by Bill Cosby, and just enjoying that, chuckling, Dad is great, made us a chocolate cake type stuff, and I get this call at the kitchen phone, and nobody ever called the kitchen down there. There were set times. These are mostly old Jewish people, that ate at certain times at this hotel, and you never got an order for anything unless it was within those times. And so I answer the phone, and somebody's doing a great Bill Cosby impression, and they say, hey, I'm really hungry up here. I just woke up and I just got off my flight and whatnot, and I'm looking for some meat and some veggies, and I just start cracking up because I think, oh, this is another one of the bellmen messing with me. And I say, yeah, shut the F up. Who is this? And the guy's like, whoa, yeah, I'm just looking to get fed, and all this. I said, yeah. Brock, is this you? Stop it, seriously. And he just keeps going, well, maybe I should talk to the executive chef. I said, he's not here. And I'm trying to hear who it is. And he goes, well, you know what? I'll call Tom Farai. Maybe he'll help me out. And thinking, the name of the general manager? There's no way this is Bill Cosby. You know what? You do that. Click. And I hang up on him. So Tom Farai comes down about an hour later, and he says, "Hey, Burbs, we got to make some filet mignon, and we got to do some spinach and whatnot, and all this." And I said, "Who's this for, Tom? It's kind of off hours." He goes, "Oh, it's for the cop. It's for the cops, Burb. It's for the cop." And he always called me Burb. He could never call me Burbs. And so I said, "All right, you shut the hell up too. Who is putting you up to this?" He goes, "Oh God. You were the guy on the phone, weren't you?" He goes, "Put on your chef whites. You have to go up and apologize to Bill Cosby." And I still didn't even really believe it. I thought they were totally putting me up to it. Bill Cosby opens the door, and he's wearing this beautiful African nightgown. It was like gorgeously made, pure white. And I walk in with the waiter that Tom brought up with us, and I said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Cosby. I have a thing with the bellmen, and they always mess with me. And I said, I'm really sorry. I didn't think it was you, And he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name's Jay, Mr. Cosby." He goes, "Jay, Laughing Jay. All I wanted to do was order some food, and all you could do was laugh at me." He said, "I'm so sorry," And so he was cool. He was way cool. He signed my book and everything. And I said, Mr. Cosby, I thought maybe you would want chocolate cake because of the whole Dad is Great made us chocolate cake thing for breakfast. He goes, "Laughing Jay's got fucking jokes, doesn't he?" So later that night, after that whole show, I went to his show that night, and he was talking about how he had to buy a building to get his daughter through college. And he called the secretary up, and the secretary was like, "Who is this? No way. It's not Bill Cosby," and he did this whole thing. And basically, he retold our story on stage, and it was hilarious. It was great.
Oh, that's hilarious. I've heard that story before. I'm not sure who told me that story, but
you did?
It's one of my all-time favorites. And there was actually, I don't know if I've even ever gotten to tell Jay this before, a sequel to it. Years later, I was running a restaurant with Tom Farai called The Watermark, and Bill Cosby was back in town. And we got a call of, "I hear you've got a really good grouper sandwich." And I think back to Burbs, and I start panicking because my instinct is someone's messing with us. This is doing the Burbs joke for real. And I actually put them on hold and call Tom Farai to consult with him on do we just prepare the grouper sandwich? And sure enough, a limo pulled up. And Bill Cosby came out, but we didn't repeat the same, telling him off type. So Jay's story has stayed with me for a long time.
That's a small world. And it's a small world.
I wanted to talk to you fellas tonight about issues like GMO labeling and Monsanto food politics, but I think where I'm going to start is a little left field of that because Twitter blew up Sunday night
over a new Burger King ad, just blatantly stealing comedian Billy Eichner's Billy on the Street bit, even parodying his persona. But somehow reading all tweets surrounding that led me on to McDonald's Twitter page, which I was just cracking up because almost all their tweets are them responding to people defending the quality of their meat. And there's been so much press and movies around the condition and quality of the food we eat, especially meat. I guess if Upton Sinclair were still around, we'd get like a sequel to The Jungle. But I think that's a good place to start. And with Burbs, Jay, you work for a unique business. Tell our listeners what it is that you and the folks you work with do and why it matters.
Yeah, we're called Locavore Delivery, and basically what we do is we partner with small ranchers up and down the Front Range here in Colorado that are doing things right, and kind of do their sales and marketing for them and distribution. You know, a lot of these ranches don't have the money to sink into going full organic and whatnot, and that's kind of what we do. We go and sniff them out, and we have a trust level with our customers that what they're getting is primo stuff, and it's all local, kind of grass-fed beef and Heritage Berkshire pork and whatnot. Tender Belly is one of our vendors, and they're unbelievable bacon. I don't eat any other bacon now because of it. And it's really been interesting getting into this business. I was in the oil field for years, and that was a quite interesting other side of things. And what's really interesting to me is how, you know, the large food companies don't really care about your health and what they're putting into these foods. And it's an easy sell here in Colorado because it's already been marketed so well to them. You know, Boulder kind of runs that chain, and these food companies aren't caring really about your health. And then the other side of it is that the health industry doesn't really care about what food you're eating, you know, and they'll treat what's going on with you with drugs and whatever they know how to do. But a lot of it comes down to what we're putting into ourselves. And I'm an example of that because when I first started working with these guys, I didn't really believe, you know, I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid yet. I didn't really believe that their meat was that much better than what you would get at your local grocery store. And you know, I lost 25 pounds. I feel great. I really think about the taste of everything that's going into me now and how that coincides with my health, you know, and it's been remarkable. And yeah, sorry, I'm probably rambling on.
No, you're fine. I get what you're saying, though, because Jay's sister for a long time ran a great community-supported agriculture project that I subscribed to, and eating those veggies, and I haven't lost any weight. I like to joke that it's because I'm too good of a cook, but I felt worlds better by eating stuff that was grown and cared for, and that does reflect into meat. Andy, let's talk about the role of eating local, like Jay was talking about, but the responsibilities that puts on a chef. Now, like I'm somebody who tries to only do business with mom and pop type restaurants. Are the cooks and chefs I'm supporting, or that in most smaller restaurants around the country, practicing those same values of local economy and maybe even food safety?
I would say yes. I see it. You know, I've been back in Jamestown for, coming up on 8 years, and man, I lived in Denver. I had an amazing view every time I stepped out of my house, but I really felt a calling to come back home because I felt there was something happening there culinarily, and I was right. I see a lot of the mostly local and smaller based restaurants and businesses that are supporting local farms, and they are trying to put the best product onto that table and the healthiest product possible. And I guess by healthy, I would say, the least amount of chemicals, the least amount of flavor enhancers. And, people will go to a chain restaurant like, oh, this tastes so good. I'm like, well, it's designed that way. There's a mathematical formula going into what you're eating. There shouldn't really be that much science going into it other than the least science possible to make your food be healthy and taste good for you. So I do see that effort. I do see like a more sustainability of going, head to tail cooking, utilization of the whole animal that you are going to be using. So the effort is there, and it's a bigger momentum now. And I think it was a good decision for me to move back. I'm really proud of the food scene that Jamestown and the surrounding area actually has. There's a lot of young, talented chefs that put a lot of hours into what they do, and to try and give the patrons the best product possible, and doing that at the same time while supporting local merchants.
I grew up a half hour away from Jamestown in Chautauqua, but I couldn't agree more with what Andy's saying. Some of my favorite chefs have all settled back in that area if they were from there. Some have just relocated there altogether and are working in the food scene there. It's pretty impressive, the draw that the town that Lucy built has provided. Mm-hmm. Last topic, should we label foods that have been genetically modified? I think I'm in favor of a tiered system if we do so, because we've been genetically modifying food for many, many decades. But I want to know the Franken foods. I guess that's our rights as consumers in my eyes, and I think that stuff that has been modified just to grow in certain climates, maybe depending on where they're at, might get some passes. But I'm glad that one of the few chains that I do eat at occasionally, Chipotle, has endorsed GMO labeling here in Colorado. So let's start with that with Chef Andy. Where do you stand on the labeling of genetically modified foods?
I have become a huge, in the past 15 years, I've become a huge label reader, and I really want to know what I'm getting in my food. I want to know where it's. I'm not the person that goes, is your salmon, is it fresh, is it lake, is it, I'm not that type of person, but I want to know, especially something off of a shelf that's, a non-perishable item. Why is it non-perishable? How is it non-perishable? When I was a kid, it would be cool that we could keep something for so long, but to me now, I'm just like, that should not be here that long. So personally, I want to know. I want to know what's in my every ingredient that's in there and every step that it took to get that to me. So I'm all for it. It doesn't bother me whatsoever to do that because I want to know.
Jay, how about you? What are your feelings on that topic?
Well, here in Colorado, we're a little unique that we have a proposition on the ballot, 105, and a yes vote says that you want labeling of GMOs, and to me, it's capitalism at work. Let the consumer make a decision. Yes. Don't give me this that it's going to cost so much more to label these things. It costs more to do 5 colors on your label than 3, and so just putting it on there lets consumers make a decision. And if it incentivizes ranchers and growers of veggies, to do things in a different way, that is ultimately healthier for all of us. Let's actually figure this out instead of being spoon-fed these foods. And I see how much money Monsanto puts into politics. And to me, if there's a ton of money going into something, there's a ton of fear that they have. There's a ton of fear that whatever system they have created will eventually come apart because of the facts about what they've done, and any issue that it is, if I see a ton of money getting thrown at it, I wonder what's really behind that. And you're right, Chipotle, Mike, I think when we moved to Colorado, that was the first meal I had, was a Chipotle burrito, and you guys told me, they got burritos the size of footballs, and I didn't believe it. And then to see them actually caring about what is going into their food, at a very high level, And Oregon is in the same boat right now. They're going to be voting on this as well. Monsanto put $4.7 million into taking down Proposition 105 here in Colorado. So yeah, I'm for it because I always want to make the most informed decision I can.
Yeah, I think for me, you both hit on that. Comes down to the issue is if we're to really be embracing the type of capitalistic society that we're evolving into, then it has to be a two-way street that we have to be given the information we need to make as consumers to best suit our needs. So many other topics I'd love to go on with you guys, but like most of these shows, it's only half hour, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up here. Big thanks to my friends for joining me this week, Jay Burbank and Andy Palermo. I'm grateful to you being here and for your friendship. I'm Michael Salamone, begging you please to be good to one another, and thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Of the Salamone podcast, please visit michaelsalamone.com or subscribe on iTunes or podcasting apps like Stitcher.